Okay, so we've got the 62 front end, and by the way, I don't know for sure it's a 62. It comes with the disc brakes. Gonna pull the struts or the shocks off of this. Comes with a handy tool tray in this front end, which this front clip, as I understand it, some people might want it, and I won't be needing it for my bug eye. So that's something to be considered. You can see the shape it's in here. It's actually pretty good. It's got a little surface rust on it, but overall it looks pretty decent. Right now, as I said, it's a handy tool tray for when I remove the front shocks. And I've got the one good shock still on the bug eye. I had pulled off the one that was frozen prior. So I'm debating whether to just send him the shocks that work, or to send him all 6, the 2 fronts from the 60. I'm calling it the 62 for now. If I'm wrong, somebody please speak up. So the 2 fronts from the 62, the one good front and the one frozen front from the 59, which are the original shocks, and of course the rears that I just pulled off from the 59. So I don't know what's better. Are they the same shocks, or should I be trying to just use my old ones, or am I okay just sending these in and leaving this one in place? Somebody tell me. Anyways, I'm going to start removing the wheels and stuff for this piece to get taken apart. Wheel off on the first. I wonder why one of those studs looks longer than the other ones. Anyways, wheels off on the first, on the 62. I've already PB blasted. In order to get this off, I can remove there or I can remove there. It doesn't really matter. And then a couple bolts. It really doesn't look all that difficult. The pinch bolt at the end. So if I'm taking the arm off, that has to come off and that has to loosen so it can slide off. If I'm not taking the arm off, I don't know, I should take the arm off. I mean, I can, but what difference does it really make? Then all I gotta do is pull that, and then the bolts to hold it in place. Again, all PB blasted prior. So that's where I'm at. Cotter pins are out. 15/16. Look at that. Just like, it was meant to be disassemblable. I guess most stuff on these old cars is meant to be disassemblable. Kind of like Jeeps, right? Everything comes apart. Anyways, so that one's off. That one will be off shortly. Okay, now this is very important. I should have mentioned it obviously before I started, but I didn't. But I'm going to mention it now because hugely, massively important. 5/8 inch castle nut off. Sorry, 5/8 inch, 15/16 inch castle nuts off. 1/2 inch pinch bolt is loosened, okay? I'm not removing that arm. Why? Because that spring is coiled and will bust your arm. And I knew that before I started taking these off. I also knew it wasn't going to let go. But that being said, this is a really important thing. Do not just take this thing off. First of all, it won't come off easily. You'd have to hit it with a hammer or something to get it to move, which should be enough of a warning right there. So normally what I would do is I'd get a spring compressor, right? I don't have access to one of those today, and I need these things off today. So I'm going to figure out a way to release that spring's tension slowly. I can either try removing the bolts to hold the spring base plate in place and let it drop, which doesn't strike me as particularly safe. Or I've removed the top 2 bolts. That third bolt is holding this thing in leverage-wise, so it's not going to go. I can loosen that off slowly, but then when it hits that last thread, it's going to fling out, possibly damage some stuff, possibly damage me. So we're looking for a solution to compress the spring. So what I have here for safety purposes is a ratchet strap that will keep this spring from flying out on me when I undo that bolt. It's not going to be the method I use to control everything. Like when I actually go to remove the spring from the A-arm, I'm going to get a proper spring compressor. I do not have the option of having one today. This is just to remove the shock. So this is the plan. It is going to hold the ratchet, you know, the spring compressed, and that'll just keep it from flying off in my face. And I have a jack holding up the bottom as well to keep it compressed. I was thinking about putting some weight on and just pushing it down onto the jack. The other side doesn't have a fender, and that's not an option because there's not a fender to stop the shock from flinging up. So I'm trying to consider that. And I don't have any X's that I particularly dislike enough that I want to put them in harm's way by telling them to sit their ass down on the spring and compress it. Not that that would go over well anyway. So yeah, this is the plan. And as I remove that bolt, if I hear anything I don't like, I'm going to just stop where it is. It's not worth risking injury to get these off. As much as I need them off today, it's not worth it. I'm going to keep the spring compressed and release it gradually with either with this or with the spring compressor. But for this point, I want this thing tight. In fact, I'm probably going to cinch it down even more, just to keep it from. It's already compressing the spring pretty good. You can hear it, you can see it. So I should be okay to remove that last bolt. Anywho, that's where I'm at here. If you don't hear from me again, check the hospital. Okay, and again, being very careful with this because this is sketchy. And by the way, I need to tell you guys, do not do this. I'm being an idiot here and I'm recording it. Yeah, I actually am. I'm being an idiot and I'm recording it. But that's never really stopped me from doing stupid stuff in the past. So at least I'm going to do it carefully and assess the risk. This bolt is coming off with 0 resistance and is loose. There's a gap in there, which tells me this is not under tension. If it was under tension, I would not be doing this. It is not under tension. The strap on the spring is holding, so I am, in fact, in my own opinion, okay to do this. I do not want anybody else to do this because it's stupid, but I do tend towards the idiotic, so this is where we're at. And the bolt is out. I turned off the camera because, you know, I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to scream like a girl in peace if it, without witnesses, if it didn't work, but it did. So what I now have is a ratchet strap holding a jacked up. This is now loose. There's no tension at all on that. So I can pull that arm and that shock off and then slowly drop the jack down, and we will go from there. Idiot task accomplished. The pinch bolt comes all the way out, then that can separate and come off there. It's easier than taking it off the splines. I undid both because I hadn't made up my mind. Then I made up my mind. So shock's out. Shock is out. All of the appropriate hardware. Yeah, kind of tough there, but it came off, and all the ball joints and stuff, that's all going to be getting replaced anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But nonetheless, there it is. As I understand, these steering arms are different on a 62 than they are on my 59, so I need to use these when I come in for the rear brakes. Yeah, that's that. Obviously, I still have the spring attached. I don't need the springs off today, so I am comfortable leaving that like that until I can get an actual spring compressor. I just needed to keep it compressed. I do not need to decompress it yet. When I do, I will get the proper tool. Okay, so all my shocks are now off. This is the original 59 labeled. That is off the, that's the one that was not frozen. That's the one that was working. Off of the side here with the drum brakes. And you know these all took a little bit of force, right? I mean, there's no disassembling an English car without a certain amount of use the force, Luke, Star Wars method. The 62 front end ones are both in here. They are also labeled. I got my, the one that's frozen was from the driver's side, the left side of the 59. It's in the house. I'm going to pack it up. So I've got the new ones in a box. If the old ones aren't reconditionable because that one is frozen, I'm going to get the core for that. And I'm sending these as a backup. If he can fix that one, then I'll keep the original shocks. If not, then I'm sending him 6 shocks. These is the backup. And I've got the rears are about to be boxed as well. Everything came off really without a hitch. Next couple of days I go back to work, which is why I needed these off today. But when I'm off during the weekday when my local tool store is open, then what I'm going to do is get a spring compressor. I'm going to pull all of these springs off that are currently held on with zap straps or ratchet straps. They do work, and they are holding. I'm just too much of a coward to try and release them with the springs under tension. So that's why that's going to be done that way. Like I said, I was able to hold them under tension, but I don't want to release them and have them go flying. So anyway, that was my adventure with the shocks and struts today. If you need any other information, there's probably better sources than me, as you would have witnessed today, but I will answer questions that I know the answers to. By the way, if anybody needs this front end, I think I said earlier a 62, but maybe it's from a 63. I'm not sure. Somebody would recognize I'm going to have that and the steering rack, because I don't need 2 of them. Those are going to be for sale. I'm probably going to keep the original drum brake components because everything I do to my car, my original car, if I put it on, I want to be able to take it off with just unbolt it. I don't want to do anything that's going to be a permanent change. So if somebody wants to take this thing back to original, I will have the original brake components. They can just unbolt the old ones, bolt the really old ones on, and same with the motor. I think I'm going to keep the original block, make it so that this thing could go back to original if somebody wants to. I think that's fair. Anyway, that's my plan. Yeah, I'm done. Ash out.